Hello, this is Photoshop Senior Edition. Welcome. And today we're going to be working on an image from beginning to end. We're actually going to bring in a camera raw file and show you how to save that file to start working on it. Then we're going to go through and adjust the image just the way we want it, and then save the file for multiple purposes. For instance, if you wanted to email this, post it on Facebook, or have it printed. They're all kind of different in a way. So the resolution has to change, the quality has to change, depending on what you're going to do. And we're going to tackle all this in today's episode. So hopefully you've already downloaded the beepollengatherer.cr2 file and are ready to get to work. Let's go. So if you actually got the CR2 file, which is Canon's raw format file, your image should have opened up in Camera Raw, depending on what particular version of Photoshop you're using. The latest version looks like this one. And you can see that we have lots and lots of sliders and so forth. And it used to be that if we wanted to use Camera Raw, we had to immediately go into Camera Raw and do what we had to do, and then we took it into Photoshop. Now, with Photoshop's upgrade, we can work in Camera Raw if we want to start, or we can just open it up as needed as a filter. So right now the image looks pretty decent. Don't see anything that we need to address in Camera Raw right now. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and tell it to open the file, which will open it up inside of Photoshop. And there we go. Now, if you want to fill your screen with the image, which makes it a little easier to work on, hold down your Control key on a PC, or on a Macintosh, it would be your Command key, and hit the number 0. That will fill your screen without going over. It will exactly fill it with the image. If you want to make the image a little bit smaller, hold down the Control or Command key and press the minus key. If you want to make the image larger, hold down the Control or Command key on a Mac and press the plus key on your keyboard. Again, to make it fit completely into your computer screen inside of Photoshop, Control or Command 0 will do the trick very nicely. Now, if we work on our image as it stands right now, you see the file name up here in the top left-hand side, and it does tell you it's a CR2 file, Camera Raw file. Well, if we work on that, we're basically working on the original file, and we never want to do that. The first thing you want to do when you bring an image into Photoshop to work on it is rename a file, which, trust me on this, it doesn't overwrite the file that you've got on your hard drive. It simply creates a new file with all the pluses, the bells and whistles still included in it. And to do that, you need to save it as a .psd Photoshop document file. So what we'll do, as soon as we get an image inside of Photoshop, is go to File, Save As, and you can pick wherever you want on your computer to save it. But we won't worry about that part so much. I like to save mine on my desktop if I'm working on something that it's going to be worked on today and out the door, or printed, really quickly. If I'm just storing it for down the road, a lot of times I'll create a file folder somewhere. We'll just say I want to create a folder here. Just right click anywhere in that area and go to New Folder, and then you can say to print later. And a lot of times I'll separate my words with underscores. The underscores located where your minus key is just by holding down Shift. Now I don't do that for everything, but you notice I've got some other files here that also have the underscores. It's an old habit from being a webmaster. So we can double click this, and right now it's empty, but this new file will go inside of it. Now this file folder that we just created to print later can be put on your C drive, D drive, whatever extra drives you have. But like I said, I like to put mine on my desktop temporarily. I can always move folder and all the images inside if I want to later. Okay, so let's get busy on the file. Let's put it in this to print later, just as an example. And notice the very top file type is a Photoshop PSD, and that's exactly what we want. A lot of people save their images as JPEGs, which is right here. But a JPEG, if you save it, open it back up and work on it, save it again, open it back up and work on it, it starts to lose its quality very quickly. So it's always better to go to a Photoshop file format, work on it all you want to. It never loses quality, and you can save it when you're ready to as a JPEG down the road. And I'm going to show you that before we finish up with this particular lesson. But right now, we've created this new file as a PSD, and then we can just hit the Save button. Now, a lot of times I like to change the name, and I'm going to call this one Working. That's the file I'm working on right now. You can put Working up in front, or you can just, name it whatever you like. Then we're going to click Save. Notice up here at the top now, this file is bpollengather working.psd. So the other file that was the camera raw file is right back where it started in the main file folder, wherever that is on your computer, and it's not going to be touched. It's not going to be harmed. So if I mess this up, the original is still intact, and that's the beauty of changing this before we do anything. So now we've got a new file, we're ready to go. So we look at our image and we think it over. Is this exactly what I want? Now if we go to image, this tells us, if we go down to image size, tells us exactly how large this file is. You see, it's a 51 megabyte file, so it's a healthy size. It's 11 by 17 roughly, and we can make these numbers whatever we want. In the newer Photoshop, we can go in here, we have all of these different things on resampling. So if we want to make it smaller, we go down to bicubic sharper reduction. If we want to make it larger, we usually go with bicubic smoother or preserve details. I like to go with preserve details. So if you want to make it bigger, that would be the thing to do. We're not going to change the quality of this right now. We're going to work on it as it currently is. But I wanted you to see the file size of this. If this were an image that you are going to put on Facebook or send in an email, the resolution here should be 72. But we're not going to worry about that right now. So I'm going to cancel this. And as I look at the image, I think I can make it more interesting if I do a little cropping. We want to keep pretty much the same shape of the image. It doesn't mean we can't do away with some of this area maybe over here on the left hand side, even though I like the effect. It makes this really jump out nicely. But I usually like to have my main subject in one of the rules of the third, one of the areas of the rules of the third. So if I click on the crop tool, you can see the different crops, and I've got this set for 14 by 11 inches at 300. Now this is important to make sure that this is the size you want to print at. Again, we'll worry about what else you might want to do with it a little bit further down the road. Right now, we'll just say we want to work on this as an 11 by 14 because we want to print this, for example. So let's just click on the image, and you see that we get the rule of the thirds grid. Now, if you don't see that, click over here where you see this grid icon and go to rule of the thirds. You can go to any of these others if you like, and I always like to have it on always show overlay. So if you don't see it, just go there and rule of the thirds. So now you see that this basically popped into approximate middle of the image. If we click and hold that down and move it the mouse left, you see it's actually moving the image left, but the grid looks like it's going to the right. And we want to bring that over to where this B is right around this intersection line, which is the bottom left of the rule of the thirds. So let's just click and drag this top down, and we can bring this up a little bit here. Maybe take that up a little bit more. And that puts our B in there. We can also click and hold and drag it down a little bit, and now the B is right there where it intersects on the lower left third. So if we double click on this grid, it makes the crop for us. So if we go to history, and if history isn't on your screen right now, mine you see is right over here on the right, you can go to window and down to history. And a lot of times it'll pop up on your screen just like this in the middle of what you're trying to work on. I like to keep my layers, channels, and history right here together. So I'm going to click and just drag that. I'm clicking and holding down the mouse, left mouse button, and just drag it over there. You see it turn blue, let go, and it puts it right in there. If I bring my channels out, it's a little trickier. If you try to get that in there, you can't really do it, so you put it there, and then you can drag the history over there. Now don't worry about channels right now, that's going to be down the road. But here's our history, here's our crop. Everything that we've done so far is right here. So if I want to back up and see what this looked like before I cropped it, I click on this and see the B is right back over towards the middle. If I click on the crop again, it's over here where we cropped it to. Now, this is just the way I prefer this to look. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to do the same thing. That's what art's all about. You make the call, how you like it, and you're going to be a lot happier if you're doing things that way. But notice right down here we have this cut off leaf. Kind of uncomfortable, a little awkward looking. It's in focus, but it's just kind of hanging. So we can go back to this particular state, and that's a history state, and crop it again. We don't have to worry about that. It'll get rid of this crop once I recrop it. So we're going to take this and go back to open. We can either, like I say, we can click on the crop icon over here, or we can press the letter C to bring up the crop tool. Now just click on the image, brings up the grid, and let's slide it to the right, left, look around. And this time I'm going to start from the bottom and drag it up to where it's just over the top of that leaf. I like this leaf being in there. Even that much of that isn't bad. And then we can bring this down if we want. Again, keeping the B in mind. Let's try that right there. So double click, and there's the crop. So I'm not bothered by this green leaf sticking up. We can pretty much tell what that is. We could have cropped out this part of the limb if we wanted to. So let's go over here to the history states again. Click on that. Click on crop again. So just click here. And now this time, let's just see about going to the edge of that limb. And then drag this up. Now we can't line it up by just simply dragging this corner. So let's try going down. And then there we go, double click. So now we have a whole different look and feel to the image, and I like this. This looks pretty nice. And if you notice over here in our history palette, now the crop state is just the one we have here. The other crops are gone. We replaced it because we went back to here instead of doing multiple crops on down. Okay, so let's say we're very happy about this one, and we're going to proceed from here. Now, as you look at the image, you can see the only thing that's really in focus here are the flowers immediately where the bee is. And that's where my target was set when I did the focus on my camera. Everything else got blurry very quickly. Even the limb that this comes from is very much out of focus. And as you go back, these are other flowers and leaves and so forth back here that you can't even tell what they are. So we look around and see what do we need to do with the image beyond cropping. Well, let's say we want to make this as sharp as we possibly can. Well, before I do any work on the image, I like to do one of two things. And we're going to get into smart objects and smart layers down the road, but I could make this a smart layer and do all kinds of things to it to protect it, and protect it by making it a smart object. But we're just going to make a copy of this layer so we don't mess this one up. That's what it boils down to. So we're just going to hold down the Control key, Command key on a Mac, and press the letter J. That makes an exact copy. If you look over here at the bottom right, we have an exact copy. We have background and layer 1. And they're both the same. If I turn that off, if I turn this off, we've got the same image right here. Well, let's just say we want to try to sharpen this just a little bit more. So we can go to Filter. Now, if you have an older version of Photoshop, this won't be there, but the newer version has the Shake Reduction. Now, this is a big dialog box. Let me try to make it as small as I can here. That looks like it's going to be about as small as it's going to get. And you notice that it's just kind of put this square where it wanted to put it. And I'm going to make this image a little smaller. I'm doing a Control minus here to get it all on the screen so you can see it. This box is controllable by you, and you can also have multiple boxes. I can simply drag another one here. So I've got this one and this one. Well, normally that's not something that we need to do. I'm going to click on this little trash can over here and get rid of that one. The bee and this flower, to me, are the most important things. We don't really want to try to sharpen what is intentionally blurred. So I'm going to click on this and hold my mouse down, drag it down here, and I'm actually going to grab the tip up here, hold the mouse down, and just make it about this particular area. And as that little arrow or that little indicator runs to the right, it shows you that it's working on focusing just at that area. And up here, the blur trace bounds shows you just how much of it's the amount of sharpening, that it's going to do on this image. And that 83 is pretty high. Now you see the warning sign up, and all that means is it's still calculating. So if we click OK at this point, it's still going to run until it's done. It's not like we can hurry it up. But as soon as this bar goes all the way to the right, it's going to be finished. And so now we can zoom in a little bit. I'm holding down my control key and my space bar at the same time and clicking, click with my mouse to make this bigger. Now to see the difference in how that looks, we can go up to Edit and you see Fade Shake Reduction. So this is a kind of a undo slider, meaning that if I take this all the way to the left, that's the way it was before it sharpened, and up here is after sharpening. So you have to determine, do you want it to go all the way, or do you want it to just go a little bit? So let's move this all the way up. And I really can't see that much of a difference when I look at the B. So let's just concentrate on looking at the pedals. Let's zoom in a little bit more. Now let's turn that off and all the way back up. There's just a slight amount of increase. How about we do it again? Now if you want to run a filter a second time, you can either go through the same thing, go down to Filter, Sharpen, Shake Reduction, or notice at the very top there's Shake Reduction, and if you click on that, it'll run the software with the same area selected that we did. It just repeats the effect. So it takes a few minutes, as we saw before, for it to run through all of the mathematical formulas that it does. Now the problem with sharpening is over sharpening. If we turn, well, let's look at fade reduction first. Let's go to Edit and Fade Shake Reduction. Take it down and bring it up. There is a difference. But if you look over here on the right hand side, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. We also can see artifacts, little dots all over the place. And if we turn this eyeball off on this layer and look at the original layer, look how smooth that is. So when we sharpened it, I'll turn that back on, we have artifacts in the image. Now, I concede that we have really enlarged this thing a lot. We've really zoomed in, so the effects are that much more noticeable. The pedals look really cool, but let's zoom out. Now, if we have this printed, that's a Control-0 or Command-0 on a Mac. If we have this printed the way it looks right now, and we print it as an 11 by 14, it's going to look pretty good. But if we had it printed bigger, these dots become more prominent. And if you look at this right here, it shows you we're viewing this at 100%. If I go Control or Command minus, we're down to 67%. Command minus again, that's at 50%. So you have to take into account, is it worth it to sharpen it like this? Now we're going to look at some other sharpening methods down the road a little bit, but for now, this is a nice tool in Photoshop, but it could be that we would be better off, let's go to history again, and just do one shake reduction. So let's go back to this state and let's zoom in. So I'm holding down the Control key and the space bar, Command space bar on a Mac, and clicking my mouse. You see the dots are there, but they're not near as bad as they are after the second sharpening that I did. That's the first sharpening, second sharpening. Before the shake reduction, much, much smoother. So you have to weigh that out. How far are you willing to degrade the image? And if you've got your own high-end printer at home, you can print this out and have a look at it as 11 by 14 and say, this is acceptable. But you'll get to know that more and more as you go along. There's another way to work on this that we'll get at down the road, where we can just sharpen the area right here that's so important, or even just the bee itself. But for now, we're taking the whole image into consideration and see what we need to do. Now, I mentioned that when this first opened, because it's a camera raw file, it opened up in RAW, in the camera raw plugin. So what we're going to do now is take it back there and do a little tweaking. We're not going to go as near as far as we could, but we're going to look at a little bit. So filter, camera raw filter. And we're right back over to where this originally started. Now, we can really tweak the colors. We can fix all kinds of things with these tools, and if there are blemishes and so forth, there aren't any blemishes. There are no spots or anything like that, or bugs that we don't want to see. We got the bug we do want to see. But there are a couple of cool things that we can do that could help our image out. Now, I mentioned there are other sharpening tools. This is one of them right here. These two little points allow us to do some sharpening, and noise reduction is built in, so those dots can be smoothed out a bit. We won't get into that right now because it does take a while to do this, but we will down the road look at sharpening out of here. The thing I want to call your attention to is, what's the main thing about this image that's really, really popping? Well, it's the color. So what about enhancing it just a little bit more maybe? If you want to do that, HSL right here is the icon to click on. All of these colors are editable in this image. We're not manufacturing color data, we're enhancing color data. So the first place you start is make sure this tab luminance is the one you click on. That is, the luminance is the light value that we're changing first. So if we slide the reds, look at how much that changes the image. The oranges, got oranges. Now if we take it this way, you can see the ill effects that are going on in there. We can come back to these, so if when we're done with everything else, we can come back and change these if we need to. We also have some yellow in the image, so we change the slider on it just to look. Now notice it's making the yellow areas, for instance right here, these pistils, it's making them less yellow and brighter yellow is, I guess, the word I'm looking for. Is this luminance is brighter. Green, we can make the green darker green. Aquas, I don't think there are any aquas. Blue, this works especially well, obviously, with blue sky. And then we've got purples, and then magentas will certainly change some colors there. All right, let's go to saturation, which is going to intensify the color, all the color that's in here. So if we go to the right, look at our reds really start, we can make them very pale or very red. Oranges, and this, I'm just doing this by eye. What pleases the eye? So greens, again, I can make them a little more intense or less intense. And I don't think, again, any aquas, blues, purples, but again, magentas. You got to be careful. You don't want the thing looking crazy. Now reds. And notice as I push the reds to the right, some more orange is coming in down here, which is kind of neat. This is making it a lot more red overall. Magenta is really running high. The greens again. See how yellowish they look there, and I run it to the right. The greens are popping a little bit more. Let's go down to the magentas. Not affecting it much now. Let's go to U, or that we are on U, which I didn't mention is the actual color itself of what's in the image. So now we can go back to luminance and just tweak where we are here. You don't want the greens to start glowing or looking sickly or all right, let's click OK to see where we are. I think you just saw what happened. This whole screen kind of popped. Let's look in the history at the state just before, which was shake reduction. See the difference in the color? A lot more intense. Okay, and the other way we can tell is if we go back to the Layers tab and we turn this eyeball off, and you see the way it was right out of the camera. Now the beauty of shooting in RAW, not all cameras have RAW built in. Most of them do today that are on the market. But a lot of cameras will shoot in JPEG. You can still use pretty much all of the stuff inside of Camera Raw, even on a JPEG. But when you shoot in RAW, that is all of the data that was captured in your camera at the time. If you shoot in JPEG, JPEG has already compressed the data and thrown out some very important stuff. And some of it could be highlights and shadows, and some of it could be color. So to me, it's very important to shoot in Camera Raw because everything is there. If you overexpose and you see an image where the detail's gone because everything's just so white, if you've got something like that, well, in Camera Raw, sometimes you can get some of that back. If you shoot underexposed, you can get a lot of that back. And if it's JPEG, it's not going to give you as much data to work with to recover those images that may be borderline. So here's one other thing that I like to do sometimes. I go in and change the blend mode of this image to sometimes make it a little more intense with color. So I'm going to actually turn multiply on. Now don't get too crazy. Let's make a copy of this first because it can affect our colors on just that layer. So again, if you remember, Command or Control J. J is in jump. Now we've got 3 copies of the flowers, but this one is a copy of the colors that we adjusted in Camera Raw. So let's go up to multiply. These are called the blend modes, and there's lots of them. All of these work differently depending what's underneath. You can see how intense that became, very Christmassy looking. But let's look at multiply. It darkened it down a lot, I will admit. But right over here is the opacity and the flow. These are on each layer. We can control this. So we can click on that and get this slider and change the effect however much we want. And a lot of times I like to tone down the overall light a little bit so we can see those details in the leaves, petals. See the difference? See how much more detail we have in there? Control Command 0 to fill that up. So again, if that's still too dark for you, just go over here and you can actually go over to the word opacity, click and drag to the right, to the left. So that's about 26%. Let's turn the eyeball off. You can see the difference. All right, let's say that this is perfect. We need to save this. I want to save this to take it to the printer. So you need to know what the printer prefers in file format. They may want you to JPEG it, which is fine, because we're done working on it as far as the JPEG goes. We can always come back, and we've made several changes, and the cardinal mistake that I've made here is I haven't saved it very much. So we can do a file save, or I always love the shortcuts, Control S. So right now, if my computer crashed, I would lose all the changes all the way back to when we converted this file. So all the color adjustments I made could go away. There is an automatic save in Photoshop, and we can change that if we go to Edit. And you can't see it, it's going down to the bottom. Let me see if I can drag our viewing area down and get this out of the way. If we go to Edit and down to the bottom, you see Preferences. And we want to go in, and we can just click on General is a good place to go. And then from here, you can go through here and make sure that all of these buttons are the way you want it. We're not going to worry about that too much right now. You can go to the next and the next. But if you look right here in file handling, automatically save, recover information every 10 minutes. So once we save that file, every 10 minutes it automatically will save. I like to change that to 5. And we'll click OK. But the best thing to do is every once in a while, just simply hold down your Control key on a PC, Command key on a Mac, and then press the letter S. That will save for you. If you saw that little change right there, that was showing you that it was saving. Okay, so Control S while you're working. It takes only a couple of seconds at the most, and it can save your bacon. I mean, you would be so mad at yourself if you worked on an image for an hour or two and then something happened on your computer. Or just all kinds of things can happen. But a Control S will save the day, and everything, make sure before you do anything else, when you get done working on your image, Control S. All right, let's say we're done. File, Save As. Now this allows us to do a Save As, allows us to rename and create a whole nother image, and we can save it as a JPEG or whatever. So let's say we want to print it and they want a JPEG in order to print it, so we go down here to JPEG. Now you see the name of it, .jpeg, and then when you click Save, this pops up. Now always save this as either baseline standard or baseline optimized. I usually use optimized. Run the quality all the way up to 12. You do not save anything by changing this for now. Obviously it shows you right here how big the file is now. It's fairly small compared to what it was, because this was 39 megs and now it's down to roughly 5. You can drop that quality down and really save file size But when you're going to print this, you want this to be the highest quality possible. Now, the best thing is if the printer likes PSD files, then you don't, it's not compressing anything. But a JPEG file is what is called a lossy file format. And that means that it loses data. It actually, in the compression ratio that makes this little program run, a JPEG compression program, it is throwing similar data. It says this red is close to that red, so I'm throwing that away. And this yellow is close to that yellow, and I'm throwing the extra away. So then when you open it back up, it has to remanufacture that information, and it gets as similar as it can. So you can see where after a while that could really start torturing an image and making it look a lot worse, fuzzier, and the quality just starts diminishing very quickly if we're not careful. So it's always basically best if we can have it printed as a Photoshop format, but some will also ask for it to be saved. File, let's do a file save as. They may say save it as a TIFF image, which is all the way down on my selections. You see what it looks like. Now, Macintosh computers used to use TIFF a lot, so some printing outfits use TIFF. But all the formats are there. If you do a file save as, whatever they ask for is going to be in this list that extends down below your viewing area. Okay, even PDF is there, and I have had places say send it to me as a PDF. So it's all in there. Now, what if that gives you the best possible, let's go ahead and save this as a JPEG and pretend it's the printer wants that, so you can see that, and we'll save it as 12 baseline optimized. Okay, so that's saved. So what if, and if I click save as, if I change that to JPEG, you'll see the file that's already there, and it shows you a preview. If it's a PSD file, you don't see a preview. What if I want to email this or put it on Facebook? I'm going to show you the steps involved there. You would go, first of all, to image size. It doesn't need to be 11 by 14 to send it to somebody in an email or post it on Facebook. And here are the dimensions that you need to use. First of all, Facebook, email, to post it on a website, whatever, the resolution should be never higher or lower than 72. Watch what happens to this file size when I put 72 in. It's already down to 2.28 megs versus 39. All right, now it's still keeping it at 11 by 14. That's huge for email and Facebook and so forth. What we need to do is convert this to pixels, because the internet uses pixels instead of inches. So go to inches, say pixels, and you see what it says there. Now let me tell you what the exact number should be. If your image is horizontal, and this image it's wider than it is tall, then that would be 640. Don't worry about the height. That will automatically adjust as long as this link is on, like that. So 640, and that resolution changed because I linked and unlinked that. Don't ever change any of this up here and then come back and change the resolution. It'll mess it all up. 72 for resolution, 640 for a horizontal image. Now, if this were a tall image, like a photograph of a tree, this number would be 450. This is still going to give you a nice full-size image running up and down. But again, for a horizontal image like this, 640. You click OK, It shows you this is less than a meg now. Click OK. Now, looks tiny, but that's only 12 or 17%. So if I do a Control 0, Command 0 on a Mac, that's at 113%. You see it's nice. The quality looks fine. But here's the trick. You can send this right now. It's going to be 943K. Most people have internet that's high or very fast, but some don't, and it's still going to be too large of a file size if we just save it or send it the way it is now. So what we do is go to File, Export, and then go down to Save for Web. This is called the 4-up view. This can be a 2-up view if you want, just by clicking here, but I prefer 4-up. That's what I've gotten used to. Notice each one of these squares has different numbers. That means that if we click this little box right here, we can set whatever. Let's say I'm going to send this to one of my daughters. I know she has cable, so if I click on this, her cable's faster than that. So I'm going to put it on this one. So it says it'll only take about 1 second for this file to go. But if you look at the quality of this file, it's set on 16. That's really at the lower end of the scale, so to speak. Let's change that, and I'm just clicking right on the word quality and dragging it to the right. Or we can go to the slider and watch what the number does. It's still only 52K. Let's see what it does all the way over. 228K. As long as something's under 300 or 400K in this day and age, it's going to be fine. And the quality of this compared to this one at 15K, you can see if I make that larger, I'm going to do a Control or Command plus. Look at the squares in this. Those are what is called pixels. Those are pixels. The square data that makes up an image. Here the quality is good enough you can't see any of that. They're all the same size, but you can see the squares in these. So let's back this down until it starts getting bad. There's where right there looks pretty good, and it's only 48K. So that really would be ideal on Facebook or an email. It's going to look pretty nice. Let's do a Control minus or Command minus on a Mac, and that's how the image is going to look. Quality is pretty decent. So you can go down at the bottom. You can't see it on your screen because the recording area, let's move the recording area down. Click the Save button. Save. And then we can say for Facebook. All right. Now here's my to print later file folder that I made. And here's the image I just saved. Bee pollen gather for Facebook JPEG. If I right click on this, well, you see that. I'm going to open with Microsoft Photo Viewer. And obviously we can make that bigger or smaller, whatever we want to do. Let's make it bigger. Quality's good. And is that not a lot bigger than what you normally see on Facebook or in an email? And the quality is way down there. The file size is way down there, I should say. If we right click on this file, go to Properties, it shows you it's 52K. Actually, it's 49. That's the size on the disk, but the size to upload is only 49.5. So there you have it, from beginning to end, We got to save the image as soon as we open it up. We don't want to work on a CR2 file. We want to work on a PSD file. When we're ready to print it, it can be saved as a JPEG, and we can do the file save for the web if we don't want to post it on Facebook or send it to a friend. If you want to send it to a relative, then you could send it to them as that larger JPEG right here. If we right click on that and look at properties, it's 4.84. A lot of people, their email can handle that. But remember, if they can't, you can reduce the file size very simply by doing the file, save as, changing it to JPEG, make sure it's this JPEG, not 2000 or stereo, and then when you click, and let's just put another number on there so we don't overwrite anything. When you click save, you can just dial it down and say, well, I know they can get 101K just fine. But in this case, 247, anybody can get that as well. So that wraps it up. Hopefully that gives you a good baseline lesson on what to do when we first open up an image to what we do when we're ready to close it. Now, I've got these layers over here. I've got 3 different photographs of basically the same thing, or layers of the same thing. When I do a file save, remember, it saves the layers with it. So I can open this up any time I want to and start where I left off. That's the beauty. Now, it will not remember the history. These states will go away. It'll just come up once you open it, and it'll say open, and that's where you'll begin. But all your layers will be there. All of any filters that you run on those layers will still be there. So that's the beauty of saving it as a Photoshop file. If you save it as a JPEG, layers are lost, and again, every time you open it and edit it, close it, it throws data away. You open it back up and it manufactures data. So it starts getting worse and softens it and all of those things. All right, you know how to get a hold of me if you have any questions. You can put them right where this is located on YouTube, for one thing. All right, y'all take care. Until next time, bye-bye.